Hello guys, my name is Colin and this is Colin Talks Crypto. It has been a minute. I have not talked to you guys for quite a while. I'm recording this on December 31st, 2021, the last day of the year. It's been a heck of a year. And I think I just decided I'm going to do this as like a podcast style video. I'm going to talk about my recent St. Kitts citizenship application, and I have received it. I'm going to talk about the process, the price, all the things that I can think of that might be helpful to you if you're interested in such a process. I'm going to cover Bitcoin, of course, the Bitcoin price, what's happened in the recent months. I'm going to talk about my personal investments, how they've been going, including Bitcoin mining stock call options performance. And I'm going to talk about the CBBI, the Colin Talks Crypto Bitcoin Bull Run Index, some feature additions and improvements, and how I read it and where I think we're at today in the cycle based on the CBBI. I'm going to talk about Luna, one of my favorite cryptocurrencies, and its massive run up recently, where I see it going, where I'm currently staking, and just various random things that I follow in the Luna ecosystem. I'll probably talk a bit about the Strong token because I have increased my position of that, and it's not something I almost ever talk about. In fact, I don't know if I've ever made a video talking about Strong token, so I'll talk about that as well. And lastly, I think I'll touch upon Vader token, and that one's definitely not financial advice. I'm just kind of dabbling and experimenting, but I like what I see so far, and so I'll just share you my limited knowledge of it thus far so that you can kind of catch up to speed with me on where I'm at. So that's sort of like the table of contents for this podcast, and I hope that you appreciate it, and I'll try to put timestamps in the description below. So if you don't want to listen to any of those topics, or you don't want to listen to the whole hour-long plus podcast, feel free to skip ahead. Just go to the parts that you want to listen to and skip the stuff you're not interested in. This is for you. This is not for me. It's a lot of work to make videos, and making content as a content creator is extremely time consuming. I mean, just to give you an idea, if I have a concept for a video, if I'm lucky, I'll get that entire video from start to finish, including thumbnail, video editing, timestamps, upload, all that in a matter of maybe 3 or 4 hours. That's really good, actually. On the long side of things, it could take about 8 hours. And on the very long side, if there's a lot of editing, could be several days. I mean, it's like a full-time job. So I thank all of you who watch my content because I really, really do put in an enormous amount of effort to making this content for you guys. So as you may have noticed, I haven't put out a video in over a month. It's probably been like 6 weeks since I've made any video content. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook. I'm extremely active on Twitter. I love that format because it's so easy to create content, and it allows me to connect with you guys and not commit so much of my time in any one instance. It's easy to type a 280 character tweet versus recording a video that takes me 5 hours to edit and release. So that's my long way of saying that I'm still here. I'm still making content. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just reallocating my time because I don't really make any profit from YouTube. It's not an income source for me. It's not an income source that I rely on in any stretch. I do it completely voluntarily and to help others. And I love helping others, and I love helping you guys and contributing, at least I hope I'm helping you guys, contributing my knowledge to hopefully a better outcome for others who can, again, hopefully learn from my experiences. I definitely am continuing to learn myself. This entire crypto journey is a never-ending learning process. If anyone says they know everything about it or they're an expert, they're frankly lying to you. You just have to keep learning in this space. So I will continue putting out content. I am on board as ever with cryptocurrency. I love cryptocurrency. It is basically the biggest passion in my life. I love following this stuff. There's so many projects that you actually can't follow up on all of it. So I have to just pick my battles and, spread my attention to those projects where I think it's worth my time, and I might miss something. None of us is able to keep track of 12,000 projects. I think that's what it says on the top of CoinMarketCap, something like that, as far as the total number of coins in existence. So anyways, I will continue bringing you guys content and videos and podcasts. I decided to make this one just audio only, just to make it easier on myself. It is a lot easier to edit audio versus video, and to make myself willing to make another piece of content for you guys. I thought, would they rather have no content, or would they rather have a podcast from me? Probably rather have a podcast. At least it's something, right? So here it is. It's audio only. I'll probably edit this and throw some visuals in so you can see what I'm talking about from time to time. But otherwise, you can pretty much just enjoy this as audio only format. So let's start it off, guys. St. Kitts. I'm going to put a picture on the screen here because I actually received in physical form my St. Kitts, not only my citizenship, but also my passport. And that's sort of like the final moment of glory for St. Kitts and Nevis and this top Caribbean citizenship by investment program. So I just wanted to share a bit about this with you guys and the journey it's taken me to accomplish this. The reasons that I'm doing it is to offer myself a backup plan because things are getting freaking crazy in the world, and it seems like things don't even get made into laws, and they just like executive orders just get passed. And the unpredictability of nation states these days is at an all-time high. That includes everything from health to taxes. And I just feel like it's very uncertain. And because the process for acquiring a new citizenship can take some time, I wanted to be ahead of the curve. I always pride myself of being ahead of the curve in most areas in life, including investments and citizenship programs. The last thing I wanted to be was guy number 10,000 in line for a citizenship while the herd is trying to exit the door, and I'm waiting and I'm stuck in a bad situation because I haven't prepared in advance. So for me, a second citizenship is a backup plan to a potentially better outcome or better situation. It's like an insurance plan. We get car insurance, we get health insurance, we get insurance on various things. So why would you not have insurance on where you live? And there's a point where you might reach a certain net worth where it just makes sense to have that backup plan, financially speaking. But honestly, I think everyone, regardless of their net worth, should have a backup plan. I understand that it's not always affordable, but there are different options out there. They don't all cost the same amount. So I'm just sharing with you the St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship that I got recently. And so let's just break down some of the facts on this. I would say expect at least like 6 months or more total for the entirety of the whole thing from start to finish. The cost was $150,000 for the Citizenship by Investment program through St. Kitts and Nevis. And there's also a approximately $20,000 lawyer fee, I guess it is, or it's the person who helps you get through the process, which is required. You cannot get through the process. You cannot submit your own application independently. You have to go through one of the approved Citizenship by Investment people in St. Kitts or Nevis, or someone who's representing that island. And so I worked with someone named Jennifer Harding Marlin. I'm going to share her contact info real quick here because she did an amazing job. I really want to thank her personally. I've already done that, privately, but I want to do that publicly. Thank you, Jennifer, for the awesome service that you and your firm has provided to me. I am very, very happy with the outcome. And so you can reach out to her. I personally highly recommend her. She did a fantastic job. She is so on the ball. She will answer your communications day or night, almost any time. It made me wonder if she ever sleeps. She's so good. And so her website is jhmarlin.com. Her Twitter account is jh_Marlin. And you can find the rest of her contact data from those two places. Also, shout out to her assistant, Valerie, who did also an incredible job. She's very timely and was very helpful. They never missed a beat and they never left me wondering. And I think one of the great pros of using her is because she is on the island. Jennifer is actually there in Nevis. She's there on the ground floor. She was able to meet with the creator of this program, Les Khan, to ask him about what's happening. And that was very helpful in this process because there were some slowdowns due to COVID. It did slow the process down a bit, but she was able to have a direct communication with those people in the Citizenship Investment Unit, the CIU, to help gain an understanding of the process. So she is someone who is actually in the country that you're applying for. And I think that's really, really invaluable. And I highly recommend that approach as opposed to picking someone who is living somewhere else in the world and trying to sell you a citizenship in St. Kitts or Nevis. You just have an advantage with someone who's actually physically present there that I cannot understate. So thank you very much, Jennifer. I really, really appreciate the process. It's all said and done, from start to finish. She got me the passport, she got me the citizenship, and we worked together, and it was really a good experience. So like I said, it took about 6 months in total. Now, there is a lot of paperwork. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't hard work. And it's something that I didn't know up front. I didn't really know what to expect. I've never applied for a second citizenship before, but there was, in my case, and it's a little customizable depending on your situation, but like 20 or 25, somewhere in that range, different pieces of documentation or steps that I needed to complete. And it's everything from getting your fingerprints taken, getting a background FBI check on a criminal history, passport scans, getting notarized bank statements, which is like hard to do because banks don't normally stamp and sign 12 months worth of bank statements. You might have to get translations in documents if they're not in English. Just all sorts of stuff, sending all sorts of identification from birth certificates to passports to driver's licenses to making sure that your signature is exactly the same. I had experienced at the end, they actually rejected my passport application because my signature wasn't exactly the same on page 1 as it was on page 2 or 3. And so I had to re-sign the page, resend it in. It cost me another $80 of FedEx. And I just came to expect that there are these little bumps on the process. It's nothing that J.H. Marlin Law or Jennifer or any of them had to do with. It's the process. It's St. Kitts. And so you just have to go with the flow. I would recommend going with the flow. Take it patiently. Don't be in a rush. If you're in a hurry, you're going to be disappointed probably. And just plan for 6 to 12 months that you'll be done with the process, and then no problem. You'll eventually make it. You have a great person helping you on the way. So there you go. That was my experience with getting my passport. I'm so thrilled to have this backup passport and citizenship in my hands. I actually plan on visiting St. Kitts in the near future, just as a little vacation. Check it out. And, it could be my second home someday. And by the way, you don't have to live in St. Kitts because you're getting a St. Kitts citizenship. That's a common misnomer. You can live almost anywhere in the world. In fact, I think you can live anywhere in the world while holding the St. Kitts citizenship. You don't have to be physically present when you have the citizenship. You also don't have to be physically present to apply. It's an entirely remote process. Like for myself, I applied and I got the citizenship. I haven't stepped foot on the soil and the whole thing's done. So if I want to, I can live there and enjoy the benefits of living there, but I can also live anywhere else while also having currently a dual citizenship. All right, let's move on to some new topics here, guys. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Oh my goodness, Bitcoin. Okay, I can't remember exactly where the last time I talked to you about this subject, but Bitcoin has been through some bumps here. We saw a $69,000 Bitcoin price peak. We saw a correction down, a bump up, correction down, bump up. We're kind of in this like corrective stage, and it's almost like no one knows what's happening. My outlook to this day continues to be bullish. I have not lost sight of the bull run. I do not think the bull run is over. I think that this is panning out absolutely to be an extended cycle. I was not really on board with that theory until pretty much right now, the last few months. It's looking increasingly likely as we have not really hit a blow off top. We've had two kind of sub peaks, a $64,000 sub peak back in April or May of 2021, and then another peak a little higher, 69,000, but neither of them were blow off tops. And honestly, all the on-chain data and all the metrics that I closely follow, like the CBBI's 11 or so metrics, all to me indicate it is not over. And these were just sub peaks on the way to a greater high. So I think, again, I don't like making time predictions. I don't like making price predictions because they're guesses. They're only guesses, and that's all they ever are. But people like to hear it. And so to keep it real broad, I think that, again, we're going to see $100,000 to $300,000 price peak. Honestly, it could even go higher because this is delayed. I mean, the amount of momentum being saved up here, I could just see it shooting up like massively. But I feel safe in saying $100,000 to $300,000 will be the ultimate price peak in 2022. I think that it'll be around March, end of February or early March. But honestly, I could see it going longer. At this point, sort of like all the past rules went out the window. And that's why I'm so glad that I made the CBBI, the Colin Crypto Bitcoin Bull Run Index, because it is time independent. It is price independent. It merely indicates when it thinks that we are at the top based on all the metrics that make it up. And so to me, it's a much better approach. As I've said before, I think that the CBBI and all of its underlying metrics have a much better chance of being right than I do of just guessing, because anyone's prediction is just a guess. So I'll continue to be using the CBBI. And currently the score on the CBBI is about 50 out of potential 100. And so all that means to me is we have a long ways to go. We have a long ways to go up. So I recommend to you to visit CBBI.info, CBBI.info. That's the website. And you can see the chart there. And actually, while we're talking about CBBI, I'll talk about a few features that we have added to this. We've added a rainbow line heat map of sorts. It's the CBBI rainbow line. And basically, I just took the Bitcoin price line and I color coded it based on the corresponding CBBI score at that time. And so you can see how sometimes, for example, a peak will be higher than a previous Bitcoin price peak, but the color will be a lower color on the heat map. And that's because there is time factored into these metrics. You can't just have a Bitcoin price of, for example, 65,000 over and over and over throughout an entire year and expect the CBBI index to remain the same color on the heat map, because time is being eroded. It's almost like with call options and you have this time decay factor. You know, the more time that goes on, the less bullish it is. So all that's happened lately as we've been chopping sideways is we're eroding on the time value, and CBBI reflects that by a dropping score and a dropping color on that heat map. So it is very useful, in my opinion, to have this heat map, because the color actually indicates how close we are to the top. The Bitcoin price has nothing to do with how close we are to the top, nor does the time. It doesn't matter what date it is. All that matters is what's that CBBI score, that composite score made up of those 11 metrics, and what corresponding color on that rainbow line does it indicate. So you can go by either the color on the rainbow line or just the number at the top of the site, and either of those is an indication. So basically, the closer to 100 we get on the CBBI.info score, the confidence score, is the closer that the CBBI thinks we are approaching the next bull run peak. And likewise, the closer that it gets to 0 is the closer that it thinks we're at the bear market bottom for the next cycle. Right now, we're at 50. We're not at the top. We're not at the bottom. It's kind of a hold position. And so that's what CBBI is showing right now. Another feature that we've added, and I want to give a big thanks to Camille Monich, my partner in this project and an amazing developer. He's like Google, Microsoft material if he actually worked for those companies. I mean, he's that good. I don't think he ever would work for those companies, because I think that he has his own personal disagreements with how they are, but he's that caliber of material for sure. And so big thanks to him for helping code all this stuff. I mean, he's the guy who puts this into code, and we work together on the concepts. But we've added a new feature where it's selectable metrics, and that's been there for a while. But the addition is that now when you select, let's say you select 8 out of the 11 CBBI metrics because you think that 3 of them don't really correctly help. And that's up to you. We leave it all up to you. Now it reflects that in the score at the top. Previously, it didn't do that. And so now it's even more dynamic. Now the CBBI confidence score is representative of your selected metrics, and it'll give you a little notification reminding you that it is not the official score, it's your custom score because you have deselected some of the metrics. But I thought that was a pretty cool feature, and so now you have even more functionality on the CBBI.info website. And don't forget to follow our daily Twitter bot that gives the CBBI confidence score announced directly to your feed on Twitter once per day. And that's CBBI_daily. That's the name of the account on Twitter, CBBI_daily. So please follow that bot as well. I promise it will not spam your feed because it only makes one tweet a day. All right. So yes, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I think that a person trying to make a prediction on the short term is more likely to be wrong on the long term. I think my understanding is that the longer time span you're looking at, the more likely you are to be right based on the fundamentals of the asset you're looking at. Like, I think that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency obviously is skyrocketing, and we're still in, I don't know if we're in the early adopter phase, but we're still like gaining enormous amounts of market cap. So in the long run, in the years to come, the direction is up. I say that without hesitation. But in the next 2 weeks, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's going to go up or down more. It's anyone's guess. That does affect my Bitcoin mining stock call options. And let's roll right into that topic now. So Bitcoin mining stock call options. My goodness, what a journey. That has been an amazing ride for me. I've seen my portfolio 5x, and I've seen it go to 1/10 of its original size, all in a matter of months. I mean, this has proven how volatile leveraged trades are, and call options are leveraged to the T. If I can remind you, like Bitcoin mining stocks, just the stocks themselves are already highly leveraged on the price of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin moves up 5%, the mining stock might move up 10 or 20%. But then if you have a call option on that mining stock, it goes up like 40%. I mean, it's insane the amount of amplified volatility that you can see. So my portfolio has skyrocketed. I did not take any profits. And I think that this is my last slap in the face of like, take profits, Colin. What the heck? I didn't take profits in 2018. I didn't take profits when my portfolio skyrocketed with my call options. And here I am regretting it because it dropped to 1/10 of its size. I'm still holding. I haven't sold. And I plan to recoup because I do have a variety of expiration dates on these call options. I do have a small number of January 21st, 2022 expirations, and those ones are the ones I'm most worried about. At this point, I just want to see a rise up in the Bitcoin price enough to put them back in profit, and then I want to sell them and move them and shift them over to like July, like no earlier than June this year expirations, basically migrate over my calls. And I won't get as good of a price and I won't get as good of profit margin. But at this point, I just need to be profitable because that's the nature of this trade. You know, I should have sold and I didn't, and I got penalized for that. And so that's on me. I do hold also quite a bit of February calls. Those are bit farms. I hold a lot of March calls. I'm happy about that. I feel like there's a good chance that my March calls will be fine. And then I do have now a small amount of July calls. I've started shifting over some of my early expirations to July, and I plan to continue to do so because January and February just don't feel that safe. First of all, I'm not an expert stock market trader by any means. In fact, I've never owned any stock. I jumped right into call options trading, okay? And I jumped in head first into the deep end of the pool. And call options are a heck of a ride. I do not recommend anyone listening to this even tries this unless they have experience and they know what they're doing and they're willing to learn and they're willing to take tremendous risk. I think that your likelihood of making profits with call options is very low, and you have to darn well know what you're doing to come out on top. But that being said, I've come to realize the value of time when purchasing a call option. I'll give you an example. Like earlier this year, I thought that the peak would occur in December or January. So I actually bought some January 21st call options, thinking like, well, that buys me a little padding, a little cushion there. And the thing is as you get closer to the expiration, you don't have any time value. You don't have any theta decay is what it's called. You don't have any time left to pad your decision. So the market gets very tumultuous, very volatile when you're holding those call options, especially as you get nearer and nearer to the expiration. And if you're out of the money, meaning you're not at the strike price, then you're going to quickly lose a lot of value. And that's what I'm starting to see with these January calls. And probably you guys are too if you've done a similar trade yourself. I still remain hopeful. I got my fingers crossed, but we only have, at this point, 20 days until those expire. So honestly, it's anyone's guess. Like I said, I could not tell you what's going to happen to the Bitcoin price in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And the Bitcoin mining stock call options are heavily dependent on the Bitcoin price. So much so that if Bitcoin doesn't go up from here, they're a guaranteed loss. Like, we will lose everything in those particular trades. But that's something I went into this knowing, and I'm feeling the pain of it right now. So that's how it goes in call options land. That's why I do not recommend it for anyone who doesn't know what they're doing. Again, thank goodness I have some March calls, some July calls, and even some February calls, and I'm going to try to be intelligent about shifting them later. And the thing I've realized is that extra time is okay when purchasing call options. If I think the bull run's going to happen in January, the stupidest thing to do is to purchase a January call option. I should be purchasing a call option for no earlier than several months later than I think the bull run's going to be, not just to give myself some extra leeway in case I'm wrong, because that's also a factor, but because the time value itself is worth something. And so it offers you a couple levels of insurance. So honestly, if I think that the bull run peak is going to happen in the beginning of March, the soonest I'm going to buy a call option is June or July, because that time value is also worth something. And in the worst case, what if I'm wrong? What if it's not in March? What if it peaks in April? Then I have still a couple months of time value left over. And so that's the lesson I've learned. Don't cut it close when buying call options and their expiration dates. When picking an expiration date, tack on many months. In fact, don't be ashamed to tack on 6 months or 12 months even of extra time, because the last thing in the world you want to do is have your call option expire worthless. And that is what will happen if it's not above the strike price, which is called being in the money. So give yourself some extra time value, give yourself some extra cushion there. And it's also worth more when you actually go to sell the call option. It's actually going to be worth more. For example, if you had the same strike price, let's say you had a $10 strike price for a HUT 8 call in January, and you had a $10 strike price for a HUT 8 March call, even though they're the exact same strike price, the March call is going to be worth quite a bit more because there's extra time value there, extra cushion. And also, the less amount of time you have until the expiration date, the more volatile the price swings are going to be, because they're more reflected on the intrinsic value of that particular call option. And the time value, which is called the extrinsic value, is no longer a factor. If you only have 30 days until your call option expires, that extrinsic value is basically not present. And if you have 6 months or 3 months even of time value left over, you have a lot of extrinsic value added onto the intrinsic value. Again, the intrinsic value being the value of the stock and the call option itself, and then the extrinsic value being the time value left over tacked on top of that. So anyways, I just wanted to share that sort of a smattering of my thoughts on the subject of call options, how my portfolio's gone, and some of the lessons I've learned in the way. Basically, my new thing is taking profits. I guess I've said that before, but like, how many times do you have to learn a lesson before you get it right? You know, sometimes these are expensive lessons, and hopefully you learn that lesson sooner than not. You know, I think in my head, I was thinking, I want to wait till the end of the bull run before I take any profits. And that was my strategy. But there's been a massive swing up and down with these Bitcoin miner call options. And when something goes up huge percentages, you just need to be able to take some profits. So anyways, that's all I'll harp on that. Speaking of taking profits, let's slide into the next topic here of Luna. Let's talk a little bit about Luna. So Luna has been doing fantastic. I first got into Luna around the $5 to $7 average price range about 5 or 6 months ago now. And it has had a massive, massive run up. As you know, you can't not have heard this in the social media space. Everyone and their mother talks about Luna now. Back when I first mentioned it, no one talked about it. I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Shaw. He's the guy who got me into Luna, and he has been absolutely 100% correct about his call on Luna. So if you want to know why I got into Luna, it's because my buddy Shaw got me into it. So thank you very much, Shaw. So as you know, Luna's price hit $100 or even just slightly over that. It's corrected down to like 85 and now it's back up around the 90 range. I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but I did take a little bit of profits. I took about 5% profits, and I'm so glad that I did. There's such a comforting feeling when you take profits on something that has massively, massively appreciated. And it's okay, even if I think that Luna is going to continue to skyrocket, which I do. I think that we're going to see a Luna price anywhere from between $200 to $500 by the end of this bull run. It could even go higher, but I think that that's a pretty reasonable estimate based on my understanding of the correlation between the stable token of UST and minting it, which burns the Luna token supply. And so I think that $200 to $500 per Luna token is absolutely reasonable for a price target for the end of this year. And again, I could see it eventually hitting 4 digits. I am not putting that out of the picture by any means. To me, Luna is the closest play to what I've seen happen with Ethereum back in 2016 and 17 when it had its massive run up. I feel like Luna is version 2 of that run up. I've observed that as a cryptocurrency gains in market cap, it's harder and harder for it to have that same massive multiplier that it's had early on. For example, you're probably not going to see Bitcoin ever hit a 100x in a single year. And you're probably not going to see Ethereum hit 100x again in a single year, but it hit that earlier on in its lifespan. Well, I think that Luna is experiencing its first massive run up, and that's due to coming from a very low market cap and rising up the ranks rapidly. Luna is now in the top 10. UST, the stable token in the Terra ecosystem, has just surpassed the market cap of the DAI stable token, DAI, from Ethereum. And so that's a tremendous statement. Also, another thing that's happened recently in Luna land, is that the total value locked up in DeFi on Luna now exceeds that of every other platform except for Ethereum. Luna has the second highest TVL, total value locked. Higher than Cardano, higher than Solana, higher than Polkadot, higher than every other platform, which is really interesting and really telling, if you ask me. I think that that bodes well for a Luna price continuing to go up in the next 6 months. I'm not saying there's not going to be a correction, because we have seen some tremendous price moves up in the recent history. You know, we went from $50 all the way to 100 in a really short order of time. So to me, it's very reasonable to expect a bit of a correction. But I think that once that's over, we're going to continue rocketing upward. So I'm not sure what's a good entry price. I would say whatever you think is low compared to $100, I'd jump in. Not financial advice. That's what I would do if I had some extra cash on the side. Some people ask me what I'm doing with my Luna. And actually what I've been doing with it is I converted half of it to B Luna, and I've been staking it in the Terra Swap liquidity pool because it has tremendous APR. I've been seeing about 15% to, on occasion, 55 or 60% APR. It varies every day, and that could definitely change, but it's been tremendous for me, and I'm really, really happy with that particular play. And the clever thing about this play is that when you convert if you did this, half of your Luna to B Luna, because B Luna is pegged to Luna, it's just a bonded form of Luna, they never really deviate from each other's price more than a couple percent usually. And you can also unbond the B Luna back to Luna, so you're not even permanently stuck in some other coin. Or if you have like high slippage when you try to swap one for the other, you can literally just bond and unbond and get exactly that amount back. So they're easily convertible back and forth. There is a 21-day unbonding time period, however, so be aware of that. But you can also just swap the B Luna back for Luna. But the thing I love is that there's no impermanent loss on the Terra swap pool, or basically none, effectively none, because, like I said, B Luna is basically pegged to the Luna price. It's very similar in that regard to providing liquidity with two stable tokens to a pool. But in this case, you get the benefit of the price appreciation of the Luna token with the protection of impermanent loss because they're basically pegged to each other. So hopefully that makes sense. If I was providing Luna as one trading pair and UST as another trading pair, then I am susceptible to impermanent loss, because the Luna price is going to change in correlation to UST. And basically, you will suffer impermanent loss whenever there is deviation between either of the two assets in any pool, unless you're using something like Bancor with impermanent loss protection, which is an incredible innovation. And I would love to see that innovation applied to all the other AMMs out there. So that's what I'm doing with my Luna. The APR has been quite nice. There was a Astroport airdrop recently that I actually missed out on. I wasn't aware of this, but basically if you just brought your B Luna and Luna over to their staking pool, you'd get a huge airdrop. So a couple buddies of mine got a massive airdrop on that. It wasn't even on my radar at all. I had no idea that was happening. I'm a pretty big Luna holder too, so I'm actually surprised I didn't even hear of that. But props to those who did get that. That's awesome. And so I'm loving Luna, and I just love the founder's attitude toward the project. You know, he's a big holder himself. He's always very bullish about the project, and with good reason, because he's really created something truly useful. He has created an ecosystem which offers the most valuable and the single best decentralized, well, he's offered the best stable token, period, of any stable token. And that's because it's a decentralized stable token, and that's the UST. So that's an incredible, incredible contribution. He's absolutely correct. You know, you can't have DeFi without a proper stable token. And that's the thing that I saw at the beginning when my buddy showed this to me, you know, that interplay between Luna and UST. UST is needed. It is a valuable service. That is why Luna is going to become so valuable, because UST is going to continue to absorb massive amounts of capital as people try to preserve their wealth, either when there's a bear market correction or just to hedge their losses. And it's such a better choice to use UST than something like Tether or Square/Coinbase's coin, which is USDC. You know, those are centralized. Those are basically no better than the Federal Reserve. You know, they control the supply. Who knows if they've got them properly backed? I have no idea. I'm pretty sure that Tether does not have theirs properly backed. Coinbase and Squares might be a little better, but still, you're trusting a centralized entity. Why would you do that in crypto? Why? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. When you can now use UST, a truly decentralized stable token. Of course, hands down, you're going to put your money in a decentralized stable token versus something that's mirroring the Federal Reserve. Like, that's a no-brainer. So for me, the play on Luna is all but guaranteed. You know, I say that with a little bit of caution because you can't guarantee anything. But to me, as an investor, I see that as being an incredible bet. UST is going to almost guaranteedly see a continuance in its absorption of capital, and thus the price of Luna, as it gets burned, will continue to increase as well. So to me, it continues to be the play of the year, and it'll probably be the play of the year next year as well. And you know, just one last thing on the Terra ecosystem and the Luna and the UST stable token is I really do wonder how it's going to work when there is a bear market crash from the blow off top. I think that Luna is not invincible to a correction by any means. It will absolutely correct. Anyone telling you that they think it will not correct, I think is fooling you. I think that most S coins, will see a drop of 98% or greater. I think that most like solid large cap coins will see a drop of 90% or greater, probably even 95% or greater. And then you'll have Bitcoin, which will have like maybe an 80% if you're lucky drop, which is better than it's ever done before. And probably Ethereum with like an 85% drop from its all-time high. I think I'd give Luna, I don't know. See, this is the thing with Luna. Because of the interplay with the UST stable token, and because people are going to mass exodus from crypto into stable tokens when that blow off top occurs, what stable token are they most likely to pick? UST, because it's decentralized. It's algorithmic decentralization. That's something that Tether doesn't have. That's something that USDC doesn't have. So if a mass exodus occurs and the UST market cap explodes, that means UST has to get minted on a massive scale. And this is while the markets are crashing, right? And so there's like an inverse effect. Yeah, the market is crashing, so Luna is going to start to tank. But how much is it going to tank when Luna supply is being burned at the same time? Because remember, every dollar of UST that gets minted means that $1 of Luna gets burned. And so it's a really interesting correlation. I don't think anyone has the answer exactly, but my theory is that Luna is going to see a lesser drop than its neighboring similar market cap coins. Like let's say it's rank 5 at the time that occurs. Any coins in that similar ranking are going to see a bigger drop than Luna is going to see. I'm not saying it's not going to see a drop. I think that it'll probably see easily over a 50% drop. But I don't know, because if you cut the supply of Luna in half or something, then that should be a doubling of the price. So it might serve to counteract the massive price drop seen after a Bitcoin blow off top and a crypto market blow off top. And so I'm just waiting to see, I think we all are, how exactly this pans out. I think it'll be very interesting, but I do think that the UST and Luna correlation offers some resiliency in the face of an upcoming price collapse for crypto in sometime in the middle of 2022, whenever that price peak occurs. So that's why I've decided not to sell all of my Luna at the price peak. I'm going to hold 25% of it. I still want to rebuy more Luna at the next bear market bottom. And like I said, I don't think that Luna is invincible to a bear market. I think that that's wishful thinking, but I do think that it has a chance of retaining value better than many other cryptocurrencies because of that burn factor for when UST is minted. So I will be keeping, currently the plan is 25% of my Luna. Also, my plan currently is to keep 33% of my Ethereum and 50% of my Bitcoin. And you can see that they kind of scale up like that because those coins will drop less because of their greater market cap. They'll still drop, but less than every other token out there. So I'll be selling basically everything else. Every other token I have that I didn't just mention, I'll basically be selling 100% of it because they will just collapse utterly. And so that will be my plan. All right, and lastly, let's talk about these last two tokens. We got the Strong token and we got Vader protocol. We'll start with Strong token. I recently quadrupled my position. I basically took a look at the two charts of Luna and Strong. And Luna had skyrocketed to $100 vertically, like vertical climb. I mean, there's no better indicator of taking some profits. And Strong token had, several months ago, seen a peak of over $1,100 and was currently at like $430. And also, Strong token, I observed from a technical analysis point of view, had not only bottomed out, but was making higher lows several times. And so for me, it looked like its drop was over and it was reverting and rebounding and going to climb to a new all-time high in the coming months. And so what better play than to sell? I just sold 5% of my Luna and flipped that into some Strong token. I also took some UST on the side, which I'm currently staking and making 20% on that in interest. So I took some profits from Luna, just 5%, flipped some of that into Strong token. And I'm very happy because basically the next day it started climbing. It hit $600 and now it's like $520. So, and Luna has been dropping. So I basically amplified my profits with that trade. And I'm really happy with that. So Strong token currently makes up now about 5% of my entire crypto portfolio. And one of the things I like about Strong token is its team. It's made up of X Block 1 members, and they're really smart guys. And I think that they left for a reason, and they are a very good and strong team. Like David Moss is on there, and there's many others. And another reason I like this project is because it offers node as a service, which is very unique. So there's a built-in demand for its token. If you make a node, it costs 10 strong tokens to make that node. And I've done some calculations, and I think it takes about 108 days to recoup one's cost, because you do make a passive income when you have a strong node in place, which is really cool. I don't personally run any strong nodes because I'm not sure when the bull run peak is going to occur, and I don't want to be stuck with a node that hasn't paid itself off. And if it takes 108 days, I don't know if that's a smart proposition to be firing up a bunch of nodes. But it does generate a passive income. And if you think that the bull run's more than 108 days away, then maybe it's worth it to you to fire up a strong node. So another thing I like about Strong Token is the fact that they had, and this is actually a huge reason of why I like it, is because on a purely supply basis, in November of 2020, about 1 year ago, the team behind Strong Token, which is StrongBlock, burned 95% of the supply. 95% was burned. So now there's like 6 digits worth of total tokens. And the current circulating supply, brace yourself for this, get ready. The current circulating supply, now keep in mind, like Bitcoin has 21 million, right? I think Cardano has like 43 billion. EOS, like over a billion, like huge numbers, right? How many tokens does Strong Token have circulating? 135,000. Thousand, not million. 135,000. So if you own one Strong Token, you own one of a circulating supply of 135,000. That is incredible. And that is why it's worth hundreds of dollars already. So that burn was a big reason why I invested in Strong Token, because I just knew that you can't burn 95% of something and not subsequently, with a delay, see a massive run up in price. And we sure did. I bought in around $70, my original Strong tokens, and they went all the way to $1,100. $70 to $1,100. That's a big freaking increase. I wish I had taken profits at the very top. I took some profits. I got my position out, let's put it that way. And then some, about, $400 range. I did take some profits. So now it's all house money. And then I just recently bought some more with that Luna sale. And like I said, the chart looks like it's trending up. It looks like it's making higher lows. It looks like it's preparing for another parabolic move upward in the next 3 to 6 months. So those are some of the reasons why I like the Strong Token. And I'll end off here talking about Vader. So this one, I am not recommending you buy this. I don't really know which way this one's going to go. I saw it on Twitter. It popped up on my feed. A lot of the Luna guys kind of talk about it. So because I do heavily follow a lot of the Luna participants in the ecosystem, their sharing Vader protocol got on my radar. And I don't usually look up. I mean, honestly, a lot of projects land on my radar. People recommend things to me. They send me private messages and recommend things to me. They send me public messages and recommend things to me. And I honestly, first of all, I don't have time to look into everything. But most of the things don't even look interesting to me. But this one did look interesting. Interesting enough that I started digging into it. I looked up its subreddit, which has like 400 people or something ridiculously small. So that indicates to me there could be huge upside in its community. I watched a video, I read some articles on it, and I read what people had to say about it. And quickly, my interest became piqued. Enough that I actually acquired a position of Vader. So I do hold Vader tokens, full disclosure. And I have a decently sized position of them. I got in when they were about 8 cents each, and that was yesterday. December 30th is when I actually bought my Vader tokens. And that's when I first tweeted about it. So I shared it with you guys the day that I discovered it. And I'm making this video the day after I discovered it and sharing it with you on YouTube as well. So full transparency, guys. You can't say I didn't share the knowledge. Now, that being said, I don't know if this will be a similar play to Luna, but a lot of the Luna guys kind of act like it is a second chance at getting in at Luna. Now, is that more than just hyperbole? Is that more than just fancy talk, sales pitch? I don't know, but it looks nice. Vader is an ERC20 token on the Ethereum network, first of all. That is a pro and a con. It's a pro because you have the entire network effects of Ethereum, you have the entire user base of Ethereum, and that is a huge, huge pro. Obviously, the con is that Ethereum's fees are extremely, extremely high. And so you won't be able to transact or stake Vader easily without paying a big fee. And you can, by the way, you can stake your Vader tokens, which I plan to do. If anyone's wondering where you can buy them, gate.io, that's where I recently purchased mine, was the biggest exchange with the highest trading volume that recently opened. And I think that also did help push the price up because today it's like 10 cents, up from the 8 cents that I purchased it at. So I saw a 20% price increase in one day already. Not to say that that's going to sustain or it won't drop any further, but I was happy to see that price gain after that one day. I think that there's a chance this could be a similar play price-wise to something like Cardano. And I make that comparison because Cardano has a huge, huge circulating coin supply and total coin supply. I think this is old knowledge, but I think that Cardano had like 43 billion total tokens, something like that. And Vader has a similar high amount, like 25 billion or something. So, just be aware of that. It's 8 cents for a reason. It's because there's a huge amount of tokens out there for Vader, and they're continuing to be unlocked to those who originally acquired them. They had to, I think it was burn some VETH, VETH, about a year ago. All these ICO guys have been waiting for a very long time to get their actual Vader tokens, and they're finally unlocked and starting to be released. From what I understand, it was a fair distribution of tokens. It was a fair offering, a coin offering. And also the team, from what I understand, is made up of very experienced DeFi individuals. I think that most of them are probably anonymous, but there's at least one that's not. And Vader basically combines the best of many different worlds. But I would say the most important one is that it has its own stable token. And this is why some people liken Vader to Luna and liken it as a second chance to Luna, because Vader employs a very similar strategy on the Ethereum network that Luna employs with UST. Well, my internet went out, but I think that the token is USDV, or it's the Vader US dollar peg. And basically, that interplay is very similar to Luna, whereby if you mint the USDV or that Vader stable token, you have to burn the Vader token. So almost identical as far as when you mint UST, you have to burn Luna. When you mint the Vader stable token, you have to burn Vader. And a lot of Luna people liken that to a second chance at a Luna-like experience. If it will pan out that way, I don't know. But it is interesting that it's on the Ethereum network, so it's more native to Ethereum, although you do have wrapped UST on the Ethereum network as well. And honestly, it's hard to compete with UST. I think that Luna has a huge head start and a huge advantage, and Luna is doing everything right. And so Vader, if it does everything right, also, maybe it can take a piece of the pie as far as a true algorithmic, decentralized, stable token. Now, they say that they've actually improved on Luna's model and the stable token model to make it even better. And I want to read you an article on Vader, some due diligence. And this was written by Never Ming on Reddit. And I'll put the link to this particular post in the description below. But I think he does a really good job of summarizing the pros of this particular project, and in a way that's better than I could describe it. And so the title of this post is, "When the DeFi gods gathered, seeking a solution to the problems tormenting the freedom-loving DeFi users around the world, in the end, they spoke one word, Vader. Burn-to-mint tokenomics, impermanent loss protection, continuous liquidity pools, protocol-owned liquidity, and slip-based fees for LPs, liquidity providers." So let's dive into this a little bit. First of all, Vader is entirely fair launched, and it has been built from the ground up based on DeFi user feedback in the last 2 years. Thanks to Vader, we will have a truly decentralized, censorship-resistant stablecoin with a slip-based fee AMM to bootstrap demand from day one, and long-term protocol-owned DAO-governed liquidity via bond sales. So let's break this down a little bit. So here's the history of Vader. The idea has been brewing for almost 2 years, as this user found by sifting through their Discord server all night, among a huge group of DeFi fanatics, looking for ways to handle the aches and frustrations of DeFi users through these years. The issues that DeFi users experience are fleeing liquidity, bad tokenomics, impermanent loss. Vader solves all of these problems by bringing together the best of Luna, Thorchain, and Olympus. The current team consists of 7 experienced Solidity devs and 3 front-end devs. Tokenomics. Vader has burn-to-mint tokenomics. This means that as demand for stablecoin among users increases, more Vader is burnt, making the Vader token more valuable. This is Luna's battle-tested stablecoin mechanism, which led it to create the fastest-growing stablecoin, the UST. Liquidity is a key element in every DeFi protocol. Liquidity providers, for example, can suffer impermanent losses when they put an asset in a pool and the price of the asset changes in the meantime. This is known as impermanent loss. It's impermanent because the price can go back up, but it also may not. Moreover, in many cases, liquidity providers have to agree to provide liquidity for a flat fee, even when in certain occasions, some traders may be willing to pay more, like when the market conditions are such that slippage is high. To address these problems, Vader borrowed what has been tested to work on Thorchain and has implemented impermanent loss protection and slip-based fees for liquidity providers. Most new decentralized stablecoin attempts struggle to get real adoption because there aren't enough use cases to drive demand. The key problem Vader is trying to solve is to build a truly decentralized stablecoin that is censorship resistant, but also has solid catalysts in place that drive its demand. Vader brings Luna's dual token stability mechanism to the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, while having real utility for the stablecoin right away with their own tailor-made automatic matchmaking system, AMM, which brings together the best possible state-of-the-art features for liquidity providers. So guys, that is a summary of what Vader is. I think it's a really good summary. And so in essence, Vader is bringing together the best of Luna, the best of Thorchain, and the best of Olympus into one project built on the Ethereum blockchain. So for those reasons, I am bullish about this. And here's one little bonus. Michael Novogratz, billionaire investor, crypto fanatic, posted an image recently of a Christmas tree with a Darth Vader statue on the top where the star would normally be. And I'll put a picture of this on the screen so that you can see. And it says this: Vader tree topper. We believe in second chances. Oh, and we love Star Wars. And so people have speculated to believe that this means that he's talking about Vader, the token. And the reason they think that is because second chances is referring to the Luna ecosystem and its correlation to the UST stable token, which the Vader protocol mimics and improves upon. And so the second chances are what Vader is doing to Luna. And Michael Novogratz is a big investor in Luna, and he's a big proponent of Luna. So he knows all about what Luna has to offer. And here he is making a hint about what looks to be, in my opinion, the Vader protocol. And that's what basically the community thinks. He's suggesting some kind of involvement or something bullish about Vader. And so this is not financial advice, but I took all that bullish information about what the Vader protocol is, and I took the fact that this billionaire has just posted a tweet talking about and hinting about the Vader protocol. And I dove into that quickly yesterday, and I bought a bunch up. And because I think by the time he actually explicitly announces it, it'll have shot up in price a whole bunch. That's just my theory. Absolutely not financial advice. For all I know, we can all get wrecked holding it, and it's a failure of a project. But I thought it looked good, so I jumped into it, and I wanted to be as quick as possible after a tweet like that. He posted that on the 25th of December, just a few days ago, and it just got on my radar, I think on the 30th, so I was already 5 days late. And then Gate.io, the exchange, listed Vader, and so it made it easier to buy it. And so there you go, guys. That's why I got Vader. That's why I hold it now. I didn't want to be late to the table, and it could be potentially, maybe it's like Luna 2.0. Who knows? It doesn't have the low fees that Luna has, and I think it'll be hard to unseat UST or Luna. But even if it just sees a fraction of the success that Luna sees and UST sees, then there's a lot of upside potential for the Vader protocol and the Vader token. And guys, I think that this is long enough, and it's where I'll leave you right now. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast style video. I hope that you have learned some things, and I wish you all the best year. I hope you made the best resolutions for the new year possible, and I wish you all the best success. And I continue to be extremely bullish. That's why there's a bull in my logo, about the bull run coming up for Bitcoin in 2022. It's going to be exciting. I think we are all going to be very, very happy. So I hope that you haven't sold, and I hope that you're riding this with me. Please continue to follow my tweets on Twitter. That's colintcrypto. Please be careful that you don't follow the spammers. There's all sorts of people impersonating my name. Every day I find a new one. Please do report them if you see them, and follow my real account, colintcrypto, on Twitter, because I make the most updates on there. And then I'll do a video from time to time on YouTube as time permits. But I wish you all the best. Have a great year, and I'll talk to you again soon.